again, I met with Dr. Fauci too as well, and so and I sat down with a lot of people who were afraid to come out. I was able to educate a lot of people who didn't have it so that they know what to look out for.
So way back then, Craig was telling people he had a heart condition. So that's what people thought. I didn't know at that time that he had AIDS.
The AIDS virus is a result of genetic warfare testing.
By American agents?
Absolutely.
The other possibility is it came from a private sector laboratory for money. Because when they find the pill that you can take to let you do it again, somebody's going to make some money. There's no question about that.
Everybody remembers when Magic Johnson shocked the world in 1991 by announcing he was HIV positive. But what if I told you that behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, there were a lot of rumors flying around that Magic wasn't the only one? Well, for years, there's been talk about a so-called list of entertainers in Hollywood and music who were rumored to be HIV positive but kept it on the low, and allegedly didn't even tell their partners. Now, let me say this up front. None of this is confirmed. These are rumors, blind items, and gossip that's been floating around for decades. But the fact that people still believe in this list tells you how many secrets are being buried in Hollywood. So today, we're breaking down the conspiracy around Magic Johnson's alleged HIV list, why the industry would hide something like this, and the names that fans and gossip blogs have been whispering about for years.
This devastating news. And so as soon as I got to the door.
This door?
This door.
Yeah.
She knew something was wrong. And she was like, "What's wrong?" And I sat her into the room next to this room. And I just sat her down, began to tell her that I had HIV.
When Magic Johnson stood in front of the cameras back in November 7th, 1991, and announced that he was retiring from the Lakers after testing positive for HIV, it flipped the world upside down. Nobody expected a superstar, a black man on top of his game in the sport, to go public like that. It was bold, it was shocking, and it changed how people talked about the disease.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
But here's the part that still lives in conspiracy land. Folks in the entertainment world started speculating that Magic didn't step out there alone. The rumors were flying around that Magic knew other famous names in the sport world, Hollywood, and music who were also positive, but they weren't ready to risk their careers by admitting it. And some even say Magic allegedly had a list, not written down, but a knowledge of who else was in that circle. Now, it sounds wild, but years later, Charlie Sheen, when he finally admitted to being HIV positive, basically confirmed the idea of a secret circle. In a 2017 radio interview with the Kyle and Jackie O show, Charlie was asked if he believed there were other men and women in Hollywood who have HIV but haven't come forward. And he said he knows several, but he refused to name them, respecting their privacy. Jackie O asked Charlie, "Do you think there are numerous men and women in Hollywood that have HIV that wouldn't attempt to come out and say it like you did?" And Charlie replied, "There are, and I know who they are, but I will take that to my grave." So if Magic Johnson allegedly knew and Charlie Sheen knew, then the question is, who else has been keeping these secrets behind the scenes? Now, to understand why this alleged list even exists, you have to understand the stakes. Back in the 80s and 90s, HIV carried a huge stigma. For black entertainers, admitting you were positive could mean instant career death. Labels, movie studios, and brands weren't about to take that risk. And it wasn't just about image, it was about leverage and control. So when you combine fear of stigma, career risk, and the industry's obsession with controlling the narrative, you start to see why those rumors about the list don't just disappear. All right, now we get into the names people have been speculating about for years. And again, I'm stressing, all of this is alleged, alleged, based on blind items, forum gossip, and old social media posts. First up, of course, is Diddy. Fans and gossip boards have been connecting dots for decades, claiming he might be HIV positive and keeping it quiet. Some of these rumors tie back to blind items about Kim Porter's death, with rumors that she was planning to expose him in her book. And then there's another clue that came straight from Rolling Stone. Remember the legendary bad boy artist Craig Mack? Well, Rolling Stone recently published an article alleging that Craig actually passed away from AIDS and not from a heart condition like we were told. And some fans speculated that it was Diddy who infected Craig. When asked about Craig's falling out with Diddy, Craig's ex-wife Roxanne told Rolling Stone he was scared. Puff was pissed Mac was leaving Bad Boy and the fact that he was gonna go with Suge. From what I understand, Puff was enraged. Roxanne also added, Puffy became a vindictive bastard and really stuck it to him for doing that. I do feel like Puff's the trigger. He effed my family up. Puff kicked it off. He was the catalyst. Sadly, Craig passed away on March 12, 2018 at just 47 years old. And at first, mainstream media reported it as heart failure. But according to a Rolling Stone investigation, Craig passed from complications related to HIV/AIDS. Now, does this prove that Diddy also has the virus? Well, no. But you also can't blame fans for speculating, especially now that we know what type of lifestyle Diddy was leading behind the scenes with all those freak-offs and ex-workers. But let's move on to the next person. So there's this C-list rapper who remains unnamed, but was mentioned in a Sandra Rose blind item in 2021. The blind item said, a C-list rapper is hiding a secret that he hopes his fans never discover while he's alive. The rapper, who has already used up half of his 9 lives, fears his secret will get out whenever he's hospitalized. He was diagnosed with the virus that causes AIDS several years ago, and he stubbornly refuses to take medication that will extend his life. The rapper's close family and girlfriend are aware of his diagnosis. They even tried contacting a famous actor who recently came out as HIV positive to speak to the rapper. This rapper is confident that he can suppress the virus through a combination of diet, colonics, and a variety of herbs and weed. However, his physical signs and symptoms have become too obvious for his fans to ignore. But since no name was given in this blind item, I'll have to leave it up to y'all to fill in the blanks. Now, moving on, you've also got actors like Darius McCrary, best known for his role as Eddie Winslow on Family Matters. According to gossip from forums, Darius has been rumored to be HIV positive for years, but he denied it publicly back in 2006 and claimed those rumors were spread by a bitter ex-girlfriend. Darius said, I don't want to give the person too much energy who did it, but it's definitely a bunch of bull. It's totally not true. Only thing I am guilty of is loving ladies, and maybe loving them too good. Now let's move on to some more recent allegations. Back in 2013, Tyga tweeted that Gucci Mane had HIV, and of course, that sent social media into a frenzy. But here's the context. Tyga was feuding with Gucci at the time, after Gucci bragged about hooking up with Tyga's ex, Blac Chyna. So it's probably less a revelation and more Tyga lashing out with something wild to say. And to be clear, there's no evidence Gucci has HIV. And then there's Trick Daddy. Some of you might remember when Rick Ross claimed on his 2009 track, Valley of Death, that Trick Daddy had AIDS instead of lupus, which Trick previously announced to the press. Ross raps, caught a little case. Buddy had a little cheddar. Pled out to 15, poured his life in a letter. Very first line he called Trick Daddy stupid. Said he had AIDS, telling people that it's lupus. But Ross did later clarify that he doesn't actually know Trick's health status, but was simply repeating what he was told. All right, now let's talk about the Hollywood megastars. There are many unnamed actors that blind items say are HIV positive and hiding it from the public. Radar and Blind Gossip have run stories like this for years, never giving a name, but fueling the idea of a secret inner circle. One blind item posted on Blind Gossip in 2015 said, world-famous actor is hiding a shocking secret over fears his fans will hate him. His worst fear is that he will be remembered not as a great actor, but as someone who contracted the disease. And then one source also shared that this actor spent an elaborate fortune to secure the silence of his intimate partners and others who later discovered his HIV status. Now the big question is, why do these rumors never really die? Why do some names keep coming up decade after decade? Well, there are a few reasons. First, social media resurrects everything. TikTok, YouTube, X, old blind items, forum posts, and gossip threads get dug up and shared like they're breaking news. Something posted in 2005 suddenly goes viral again in 2025, and people latch onto it because it feels inside or forbidden. But there's another darker side to all of this. See, there's this theory that HIV/AIDS wasn't just a random epidemic, but was used as a weapon, especially against Black communities. And some major Hollywood stars have openly supported this theory, although those interviews were either scrubbed from the internet or memory hole. But there's one that's still floating around, and that's Will Smith's 1998 interview with Barbara Walters, where he flat out said that HIV was created by the government to target the black population. And get this, Will even expressed fear that, quote, they, end quote, would come after him for saying this publicly.
There has to be something out there.
Do you believe in government conspiracies?
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'm serious. I
No,
heard
no,
you did.
definitely. No, oh my God.
I know I heard you did. Are you serious now?
Oh yeah, no, I'm very serious. You can't
No,
tell,
I
can
can't
you?
tell,
You
no.
can't tell.
I'm getting it. I read that you felt that the government was deliberately spraying cold germs in subways, was deliberately trying to make people ill with the AIDS virus. This is pretty serious stuff. Do you really feel that?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I'm with Barbara Walters now. Oh, that's a serious one. Okay, so I got to now, because people are going to chase me after this. People are going to chase me. I believe that it is quite highly possible that the AIDS virus is a result of genetic warfare testing.
By American agents?
Absolutely.
Well, why
Am I a
do-
conspiracy theorist? I'm a conspiracy theorist, all right. Gosh darn. I didn't want to
And
be
do
a
you-
conspiracy
and do
theorist. I
you-
wanted to be regular.
Well, you're a little irregular. Serious stuff. Well, I wanted to ask you, can you make up rap just like that?
I used to be able to.
Can you do it
You're
now?
gonna put me on,
Yeah, I want you
the
to-
spot,
yeah,
and I'm gonna
yeah.
look real dumb.
Okay.
Hip.
And y'all, notice how quickly Barbara changed the subject as soon as she realized Will wasn't joking? Now, you could easily dismiss what Will said as conspiracy talk, but then again, that only works if you ignore history. Think Tuskegee and military memos about experimenting on black communities. Everyone thought that was a conspiracy until the government came forward and admitted it.
What the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
We have no idea how many wives, girlfriends, children inherited the disease and also died or were forever crippled by its effects.
For 40 years, the U.S. government operated public health service conducted what was known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, one of the darkest chapters in American history. Now, over 40 years after the study ended, we still don't know, and might never know, the full extent of its effects. And the study might have continued if not for a 1972 article from Associated Press reporter Jean Heller.
Everyone who knew about this, to my way of thinking, everyone who knew about this and didn't blow the whistle, that didn't shout to high heaven, "This is wrong," is culpable.
Syphilis was considered a national health crisis in the early 20th century.
You don't know a thing about syphilis, except that you've got it.
And many doctors at the time thought syphilis and other medical complications were affected by race. To study the disease, researchers found a population of poor, black, syphilitic sharecroppers in and around Tuskegee, Alabama during the Great Depression. Nearly 400 of the participants had syphilis, while another 200, the control group, did not. In the end, as many as 100 men died from complications related to untreated syphilis, and the message was very clear. Black deaths mattered.
Medical doctors deliberately let them die, wanted them to die for what they could discover from their bodies later.
So yeah, you can see why the rumors and the conspiracies persist to this day. In the 80s and 90s, HIV/AIDS hit black communities much harder than others, while the government's response was painfully slow. And when you combine that with a long history of medical neglect, from Tuskegee to secret sterilizations, it's not shocking that people think it was targeted. To be clear, there's no credible evidence that HIV was man-made to target a specific demographic, but that doesn't mean that people will stop speculating. Well, let me know what you think. Is that rumored list real? And if yes, what else is the industry hiding that the public doesn't know about? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch y'all next time.